From making sure that high-rise buildings are safe to searching for missing persons, Jersey Fire and Rescue provides life-saving services for islanders. Bryn Coleman joined the service last month as Deputy Chief Fire Officer. He sat down with Express to talk about his experience in Nottinghamshire, the variety of work that Jersey Fire and Rescue undertakes, as well as what goes into rescues at sea or on cliffs. So could you just briefly introduce yourself?
Certainly. So I'm Deputy Chief Fire Officer, Bryn Coleman, States of Jersey Fire and Rescue Service.
Brilliant.
Do you want any more than that?
Could you just tell me a bit about, you obviously moved here pretty recently?
Yeah, okay. So I moved here 3 weeks ago, started on the 27th of August. Previously, I've been with Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service since 1994. So a bit of a history in terms of Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service. Started as a firefighter, worked all my way up through the ranks to area commander. When I left Nottinghamshire, I was head of prevention and protection, which basically means prevention is looking after people, safety in their homes. Protection is looking after building safety. Quite a diverse city, Nottingham, large student population, a lot of high-rise buildings, and obviously on the back of Grenfell, you know, all the risk that comes from high-rise buildings and all the work that we're doing to try and keep the community safe. Bit of a background in terms of collaboration with police and ambulance colleagues. I was leading on the collaboration agenda, bringing fire and police together in one new headquarters, so I did that. I was also formerly head of technical rescue or specialist rescue, so dealing with water incidents, large transport incidents, collapsed buildings, so that was my background. But I suppose probably more notably, I'm the UK lead, United Kingdom lead for water rescue. So I'm the National Fire Chief Council lead for all inland water, responsible for procedures, policies, serious events that occur in terms of water rescue across the UK. And I've kept that reference with me now I've come to Jersey. I was also both a tactical and strategic flood rescue advisor to the UK Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. So any large-scale flooding incident that happened in the UK, fire and rescue services that were affected could bring specialist tactical and strategic knowledge to the area to deploy boat resources, to deploy air assets, to work with the Coast Guard or the lifeboats, so that we could work a strategy for evacuating areas and doing flood rescue. And on the back of that, I also, back in probably about 2019, I was a strategic advisor to the then Boris Johnson government in London and worked in Whitehall advising on the UK strategy for flood rescue.
Lots I'd like to kind of dive into. Do you want to maybe start with the advisor type roles? Is that something that you'll be continuing here, working with our government here? And also, do you still work with the UK while based in Jersey?
Yeah, so in terms of that, we don't have any dedicated flood rescue tactical advisors in Jersey, so you have one now, so I will bring that experience and will, by the very nature of my role as Deputy Chief Fire Officer, be advising the government in terms of flood strategic capability and a flood rescue, so I will mirror that role within the UK. Yes, I've still got the links to the UK because I'm the National Fire Chief Council lead for water rescue. What I won't be doing is going across the UK as a tactical advisor, because obviously I'm now embedded in Jersey and working for the States of Jersey, so I won't be going to wide area floods within the UK anymore, but obviously if they occur on the island, I will be front and centre of that process.
Yeah. And your kind of job change so far, how has it been?
Fantastic. So really warm welcome to States of Jersey Fire and Rescue Service by all the personnel, and it's a warm, friendly island. It's a huge transition, moving away from the mainland, moving away from everything that's familiar in the UK Fire and Rescue Service, but also everything that's familiar as well, because everything that we've got here is adopted from UK best practice. Our guidance, our procedures are all UK. So why everything is different, but everything is the same, if that makes sense. But clearly quite a dynamic role. It's a small service, but it's also got the risks of a large urban city in the UK. We've got an airport, we've got a port, we've got high-rise buildings, we've got a prison, we've got hospitals. All of those things that are in any UK city, but with a lot more resources. So we've got to be quite imaginative, and innovative in terms of how we respond to those with the limited resources that we're always going to have on an island of this size.
Yeah. When you say imaginative and innovative, anything that's original or really interesting that we do or might do in the future?
Yeah, so I suppose in terms of the diverse of skills, the firefighters on the island have a more diverse range of skills than what they would in the United Kingdom. So they wouldn't do marine rescue in the United Kingdom. They may do cliff rescue, but they certainly wouldn't be as heavily involved with protecting the coastline from 3 miles out in terms of marine rescue. So that is that's very different and a difficult skill set to maintain and continue with. Also, the amount of specialist skills that they've got here. If we look at it, they've got aerial ladder appliances, they've got heavy transport rescue, they're firefighters as well. So they've got all the specialist skills on one station. And in the United Kingdom, that would be spread across the entire county and not just concentrated on one station. So it's how do we move some of those skill sets around the island to make sure that all our firefighters are competent, well trained, and how do we keep delivering those functions. So I've got some ideas in terms of resourcing and how we can utilise our staff to the best possible way. It is a really efficient and effective fire and rescue service, but clearly we've got some ideas in terms of operational procedures that we could bring, operational equipment that might be slightly different, and those obviously take time and money to implement, and Rome wasn't built in a day, but those are certainly some of the procedures and policies and new equipment that I'd like to bring to the island. But it's too early to say exactly what they are, but I'm not on my own coming from the UK. There are there's another 2 officers, so 3 in total have come across from the United Kingdom. Myself, originally from Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service, an officer from London Fire Brigade, and another officer from Royal Berkshire. So all of us bring a really diverse mix of skills and experience that we hope to embed and develop States of Jersey Fire and Rescue Service with.
Yeah. You've mentioned a few times the kind of diversity of skills and how that's concentrated on in a relatively small organisation. How do the numbers compare in terms of staff?
So the Fire and Rescue Service I was in before had 850 staff. My colleague from London had 6,000 firefighters. We have somewhere in the region of 120 firefighters. But that's probably not the true story, because the fire and rescue services in each county in the United Kingdom don't operate in isolation. So we have arrangements, support arrangements with our neighbouring colleagues. So we can draw on neighbouring counties. So you've almost got a limitless supply of firefighters and fire appliances to deal with on any operational incident. We haven't here. We've got in the region of probably 4 or 5 fire appliances, and of course the geography, we're surrounded by water. So we've only got the firefighters that we've got, and it's very difficult to get immediate support. We can have support from the United Kingdom, but that's going to take time just because of the distance involved. So that's the significant thing, that we've got a lot of those risks with those very limited resources that we'd have as a small island nation.
Is there ever support from Guernsey?
So we've got mutual arrangements with Guernsey, but again, we're limited by sea. There's water all around us, so all of those things will take time. And clearly we would then in turn support Guernsey in relation to an incident. So we do have those mutual assistance paths in place with both Hampshire and the Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Service and Guernsey. But they take time. So and obviously in an emergency situation, time is really, really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something I wanted to come back on as well. You mentioned the guidance and procedures that we've kind of adopted from the UK. Do we have basically the same guidance, or are we a step behind? How does that process work?
So we are following the same best practice and the same national operational guidance that all the United Kingdom Fire and Rescue Services. Clearly we cherry pick it because we haven't got all the risks that the UK have got. We haven't got motorways, we haven't got railways. Fortunately, I don't think we have large civil disturbances or riots that we that you can see in the news frequently in the UK. So certainly over the summer period. But we do have the areas that I've alluded to, high rise, we do have ports, we have hospitals, we have building fires. All of those areas we would copy UK best practice and national guidance,
Yeah. You've mentioned building safety and high rises a few times, which I think at least for me, didn't come too intuitively, because I think of Jersey as relatively rural. What does that risk look like here?
So we've got 33 high-rise buildings above 8 metres in Jersey. And by proxy, they would be the same buildings that you would expect to find in any United Kingdom city. They're probably built by United Kingdom contractors, UK contractors. They're probably built with the same materials. So all the issues that we're experiencing in the UK with high-rise buildings will be prevalent here. And it's certainly something that we're looking at, myself and wider government, looking at building safety, looking at the fire precautions in those buildings, looking at our response to those buildings with those limited resources that we've got, and modernising fire safety legislation to bring ourselves up to standard, and learning the lessons that that have occurred, unfortunately, in the United Kingdom. So yeah, all of that is work in progress. So you can imagine it's a real steep learning curve, and a real desire to make the island safer and do the best that we can for the islanders.
Is there a number one thing that needs to change or be modernised?
So we're working on a modernisation programme. The government's investing in the fire and rescue service, and that's part of the programme that I'm here for as part of that investment programme. We're looking to recruit more firefighters and increasing the capacity. And I'm sure that all across government there's limited resources and limited capacity, but the government has committed to having an improvement plan for the fire service, and that's what we're working on at this moment in time, is increasing the capacity and increasing the equipment that we've got, and that's really, really welcomed.
Yeah, so is that equipment and staff?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's both. Yeah, so we're working on that.
How do you tackle that? Do you attract people locally? Do you have to bring people over, or do you want to bring people over, I should say?
It's a mixture of both. So the next round of recruitment will be on-call firefighters. So we'd really like your support in promoting on-call firefighters and promoting our recruitment. Perhaps you could take part in some of the recruitment tests yourselves, and where we could really push that and promote the work of the fire service. Because traditionally people think that we just deal with fires, but it's far more than that. We will do prevention, we will protect buildings in terms of building safety, we will try and keep people safe in their own homes. But as I say, the wide range of skills that they've got, such as marine rescue, such as rope skills, such as confined space, there is a lot to firefighting. So that is predominantly, it will be islanders that we will be recruiting as on-call firefighters who live and work on the island. But clearly sometimes we might have to go off the island, certainly for senior positions, hence myself coming across, to bring that skills and knowledge that we've learnt across in the UK and make Jersey a safer place.
Yeah. What have your highlights been so far?
The people, without a shadow of a doubt, the people, the warmth, the friendliness, but also the professionalism. The crews really, really, really want to make Jersey a better place. They want to make it the best fire and rescue service that they can. And I'm really, really proud and honoured that I can contribute to that, bringing those skills and experience, the additional investment that we've got from the government, and the will and the sort of know-how of the local fire and rescue service here. So that's been the highlight of the last 3 weeks, without a doubt.
Yeah. Could you give me a bit of an idea of your current role? Is it more office-based? Are you, out and about?
So I form part of the duty principal officer rota. So there are 4 of us. So there's the chief fire officer, myself as the deputy chief fire officer, and 2 area commanders. And we take it in turns a week at a time to be the duty principal officer. So any strategic, a large incident, we would become the senior gold commander for that incident. So there's an operational element to it. But day to day, I'm assisting the chief fire officer with running the service. Quite a large service, well, relatively large for Jersey, I suppose, 150 people. It's quite an organisation. So we've got prevention, protection, response, training, operational assurance, and service improvement teams. So the day-to-day activities, coordinating all those activities, as well as being an operational fire officer ready to the moment's notice to go to any incidents.
Yeah. I wanted to go back as well to flood risks and management. Is that something that you see as a kind of risk that we're facing here? Is it increasing, and do we need to change the way, maybe our habits or the way that we do things?
Absolutely, it's increasing. So absolutely, the amount of flood rescues across the world. I mean, we've seen what so-called summer has been like. It's been wetter, and the weather is changing. There is climatic change, and this is a result of climatic change. And it's at extremes. So sometimes we get really, really hot weather, which causes the fire and rescue service to be busy because we get more grass fires, forestry fires, fires in the countryside. So that makes the fire and rescue service busy. We're also seeing a lot of wet weather simultaneously with heat, which is really perverse. And that increases the amount of flooding. And when we get an increased amount of flooding, that again has a detrimental effect or an increased amount of calls for the fire and rescue service in terms of rescue. So we're heavily involved with rescue, evacuating of casualties, preventing from floodwater from causing damage to critical infrastructure on the island. So that is increasing. What we do have here is quite a developed water rescue capability because of the nature of an island nation. Water rescue is paramount. So whereas some services in the United Kingdom are probably developing their water rescue capability, we've already got a developed water rescue capability that is adequately resourced in terms of responding to those marine and flood incidents.
Yeah, and you mentioned you have quite a strong background in water rescue and kind of inland water.
Yeah.
How does that carry over to the kind of issues we're facing here?
So I suppose a lot of it is the engagement and collaboration activities with the RNLI. So I've been heavily involved in wide area search and rescue as part of my role in the United Kingdom. So working with HM Coast Guard in the UK, working with RNLI, working with the third sector voluntary rescue organisations, Lowland Search and Rescue, police, search advisors, all of those things are linked with water. And clearly I bring that set of contacts, that experience with me to develop Jersey as a nation. And colleagues in the UK are more than willing to assist and come and contribute and improve our capacity in terms of wide area search and wide area flood response.
I'm surprised that you mentioned kind of searches in particular. First of all, why is that?
So if you get a missing person, they could be missing near a stretch of water. So unfortunately, you sometimes get vulnerable persons that are missing. Yeah. Often those vulnerable persons are missing near water. Now there is a technical capacity that's needed, technical search capability that the fire and rescue service has got. Because if that person's missing near cliffs, near water, near a reservoir, yes, the police and lowland search teams can search physically on the ground, but as soon as it gets near a cliff or as soon as it gets near water, that's where you need a technical search capability, which is the fire and rescue service. So it's vital that we're all linked in, trained together with police, RNLI, with Coast Guard or any air assets that we've got. So we've got that holistic approach to that rescue. And it is understanding how all the organisations work together so we can effectively search for that missing person in any terrain.
So what happens next? You get a call from, I assume, police?
Yeah, generally.
There's a missing person and we'd like you
to assist.
Help,
yeah.
To assist. And what do you do next?
So we would mobilise one of our duty officers, probably a station commander. They would liaise with the police search commander. They normally call them a police pulsar, which is a police search advisor. And they will advise on the strategy for searching that area. We would then advise on what specialist capabilities we've got to search that area. So there will be a police search or a plan that's developed to search a wide area, and we will assist in those technical areas that they require, such as cliffs, such as water.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And how much of the service here is kind of fire versus rescue versus everything else?
Early days yet, but I would guess probably in the region, and it's a ballpark figure, and I may look at my colleague at this, but I would guess in the region of 20%, I would guess is probably marine and water rescue incidents. So you're probably looking at probably 20 to 30% is what we class as special service calls. Special service calls are water rescue incidents, assisting colleagues in police, assisting ambulance, what we call co-responding. So if the ambulance service are committed and busy, we could send firefighters to a medical emergency, so that person who's in need is receiving treatment. And then probably the other 70 to 80% are fire related. Now they may be automatic fire alarms, they could be building fires, property fires, car fires, anything that contributes to fires. So probably that sort of split. But I would say that there's probably more of an influence in terms of special service calls, water and other calls here than there is on the mainland due to the geography.
Yeah, and are there any particularly original skills that people have, or anything that people might be surprised to hear about?
In terms of original skills, I think a lot of them will be predicated around the marine, because a lot of people's sporting activities are marine based. We've got yacht masters, we've got people that are excellent at surfing, so a lot of the water based leisure activities, we employ people who've got those skill sets. and they are really easily transferable to a rescue scenario. So we've got really experienced, skilled people that understand the sea, understand water, understand the dynamics of that, and then we add that rescue element, which makes them excellent, experienced rescue practitioners.
Yeah, that sounds like you've got lots of... it comes back to what you were saying about a very diverse skill set. Full disclosure, this is a personal interest of mine because I'm into climbing, in terms of rope skills and cliff rescues and what's involved.
So as you can imagine, we don't single line work, we're always twin line work in terms of rope rescue. But ours is sort of a, I wouldn't say mountaineering skill set, but it's probably more than a leisure skill set. Yeah. It's probably more commercial sort of rope rescue activities that you would expect in
I don't
terms
imagine
of
there's
that.
a lot of overlap, I'm just
No,
curious.
so it would be more similar to IRATA, the commercial skill set in terms of steeplejacks, in terms of people that work on telegraph poles and TV masts. Those sort of skill sets are very transferable in terms of the rescue environment in terms of cliff, as opposed to pure mountaineering. But of course, the overlap is you've got to head for heights and understand rope and understand safety.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, even at an amateur level, so I can't imagine. And then I just wanted to kind of come back to, you mentioned working together with other emergency services. How well do our emergency services work together currently? Is that something that you're trying to work on?
So Jersey's adopted UK national protocols, and it's something what we call, an acronym is JESIP, which is Joint Emergency Service Integration Programme, so that we all speak the same language, we all understand risk together, we all share information, and we all receive the same training. So all blue light partners will be what we call JESIP trained, Joint Emergency Services Integration Programme, so that we all understand the same sort of issues. We're trained to have regular meetings, we're trained to have, this is as an incident, so we will set a time frame. So as soon as we get to an incident, all the relevant commanders will come together, and we've got acronyms, we've got flowcharts that we all understand for sharing of that information, because one of the most important things when you get to an incident is that we all share that information amongst ourselves. So we haven't got the police or the ambulance or ourselves keeping information that could keep their personnel and their safety, or could affect their safety, is paramount. So we share it.
I suppose you don't want jargon or acronyms that you don't understand.
Or if if you're coming out with an acronym that we don't understand, or it actually means something else to us, so we're taught to speak in plain English. And it's a very established set of protocols for JESIP, and that works here just as it does across on the mainland. And this is learning from major incidents such as Manchester Arena, such as some of the London bombings. All of this work has been developed over the last 20 years, and we're seeing that on the island on a day-to-day basis in terms of JESIP principles.
Coming back to, so we've got quite a lot of time. Are there any highlights, anything that you've worked on in your career that you've found particularly rewarding, maybe?
Clearly the water rescue stuff, and clearly moving the water rescue agenda and making it more coherent, more professional, more joined up, and that sharing of information, but also that skill set, that's been career highlights for me. Clearly in the UK, I've been involved with some significant incidents that have occurred across there. Unfortunately, I was involved with the tragic incidents in Nottingham last summer, where we lost 2 students and a school caretaker in really tragic circumstances. And that really harmonised the work, how police, ambulance and fire work closely together in those situations, certainly in the early hours as we were trying to piece together what happened. And that was quite a harrowing experience to be involved with that. I've been involved with significant incidents at Nottingham train station. We had a large fire there, but also understanding that it's not just a fire at the train station, because we were in the Midlands and it's a transport infrastructure hub. That was having a catastrophic and knock-on effect across the entire United Kingdom, because trains were being delayed, couldn't get into the station, couldn't pass through the station, and it's understanding the impact that a fire can have on the wider community. So that was a real significant sort of career highlight, if you like, of being the incident commander at the train station fire. And then clearly I've probably been involved with most of the significant flooding events across the last 15 years in the UK, 15, probably 18 years. And the amount of damage, the amount of distress that causes individuals, not just immediately as we're rescuing them, but for a year, 18 months after, while they're being rehomed, and the impact that these incidents can have on the communities of these literally rising tide events where people are cut off by floodwater, often sleeping. They've gone to bed and it's raining, and then they've woken up and the bedrooms are flooded, the ground floors are flooded, and in their time of need, we've got to rescue a lot of people simultaneously, and sometimes that's quite harrowing. That you've got a lot of people, and again, limited resources, and you really, really need to do your best under challenging circumstances in appalling weather.
Yeah. Terrific. I suppose you mentioned floods, and you mentioned we've talked a bit about building safety as well. Are there steps that people should take to keep themselves safer?
One of the best pieces of advice I could get is the app, What 3 Words, and then the amount of times that the app, What 3 Words, has come to the forefront. If you imagine an island such as ours here, being in rural locations, sometimes with, certainly from me from the mainland, confusing French names that I will mispronounce, and passing that information really, really quickly and speedily to the Emergency Services Control Centre in St Helier. The easiest and quickest way to do that is to give a What 3 Words reference. For those that are not familiar with it, they can download the app, and wherever they are, if they give the What 3 Words reference from where they are, if that emergency incident occurs, we can find them within 3 metres straight away. So we understand where they are, they understand where they are, and they can give that information in a really, really speedy, coherent manner, even in distressing circumstances. And I've seen incidents across the UK where that has literally meant the difference between life and death, that you're not trying to describe a field that you're in or a country lane where you are and the last church or pub that you've passed. You can get that information across. We can get to you speedily and give you that emergency care and that emergency response that you deserve. For me, that's the big takeaway from it in terms of getting an emergency response.
Yeah, that's really impressive. Is that something you use kind of on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What happens when people are at sea?
I don't know. Again, a lot of that is linked with the Coast Guard. So there would be a distress signal that's placed into the Coast Guard. They do have automatic locations. I'm perhaps, I perhaps do know. But they do have automatic vessel location devices on, so we do have a general idea where they are. But a lot of that is down with Jersey Coast Guard. They will have the location of the vessel, and if it's within the territorial waters, if it's within 3 miles, we will respond to that location. But of course, if we don't exactly know where it is, we'll assist in the search for that affected vessel.
It's an example of interagency.
Absolutely. And communication, going back to that JESIP issue that I was talking about, the Joint Emergency Services Programme, where we share information.
Mm-hmm. What's going to be your kind of number one priority as you go through as you get settled into your job, go through the next couple of weeks, months?
I think improving the service for all islanders, without a doubt, it is making the most of the resources that we've got, the new investment that's coming, making sure that is delivered on time, within budget, and making the island safer. And I know that's a very broad, sweeping statement, but there are so many little areas that we can improve the service with the skills, knowledge and experience that we've got, not only in the island, but the new officers that have coming in, and with a budget that we've had the budget increase, just making it a better service for everybody, for the firefighters who serve here, but also for the islanders who live here and the tourists who visit.
You mentioned some resources and recruitment. Where do you want to direct them?
So in terms of that, it will be across the social media sites that's used by States of Jersey Fire and Rescue Service, so predominantly on Facebook, but it will also be on the government website.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you again to Bryn for joining us. You can follow us on bailiwickexpress.com, on social media, or wherever you get your podcasts.